Welcome back to the Hip Hop Report. I am Rambo Hustle, and today we'll be discussing and listening to Swae's Same Difference, a brand new project, 16 records, including features from Slim Jimmy, Post Malone, French Montana, Rich the Kid, Nav, and Jhené Aiko. Alright, so gospel, I'm going to add that to the playlist. I thought that was a cool little vibe. So far, 4 records in, the beats, the productions are going to hit. Obviously, we're not getting some crazy lyrical deliveries, or that's not what Swae does. So we are getting the melodies, and we're getting the records that are just going to slap. But so far, nothing really stands out as a major hit so far. Let's keep rolling and let's see what we got. Number 5, Mural with Jhené Aiko. Drum melody and just that bounce, man. That just, as long as those melodies are hit. Love this record. Jhené came in. I knew that this was definitely going to be one of those records that I was going to hit replay on. That is one of the best records on this project. Following Mural, we get Side Eye, which to me also has a great vibe, and this one's a solo record, so shout out to Swae for killing this. I believe he leaked this, and this was one of the teasers that he put out on his page. I think Side Eye, again, just another one of those, I don't want to say Caribbean, but kind of tropical, lighthearted summer vibes that Swae has been traditionally so great at producing. Definitely make sure you hit play on this. This will also be on the 30 for 30 playlist. Vibe. First saw French Montana on the track list, and I said, okay, this might be something. Let's check in with Suitcases and let's see what it is. Unlike Unforgettable, which obviously was a worldwide smash hit, this one doesn't quite live up to that trajectory, or they don't repeat. Let's just say that. It's a cool record. It's got the cool vibe that they like, and of course, you know, French Montana delivers his 8 to 12 bars of whatever. But, you know, that's not to downplay French Montana's talent, because obviously he's got a #1 record right now with Rick Ross, Minx in Miami. So I don't want to downplay what French does, because I think French has a great ear, and he knows what it takes to trend Dill for the record, to not lose the game.
Yeah, actually, I think that was a 16, man. I think
French might have dropped a 16 on that thing. All right, next record, Don't Even Call, featuring Rich the Kid.
Don't even call tonight. Don't even call.
We gotta see how that one starts, because that was a kind of a crazy beat, but let's see how it comes in. That has a lot to do with it. To me, like, how a record comes in kind of determines whether you make it. You know, if the first 10 seconds don't hit, then the next 20 seconds you won't even make it to that, even if that hits, you know? Okay, R&B bag with Raising Awareness. I'm just listening to this on my laptop, but I can guarantee you that on the big speakers is gonna go crazy. So Raising Awareness, also, it's gonna go on the Hip Hop Report playlist. It's not gonna go on the 30 for 30. I don't know if it has that vibe yet. Though I may make a R&B playlist for you guys to listen to, because I think R&B is just becoming such an obvious thing to have in all projects, whether you're a rapper, singer, or R&B artist, or whatever the case is. Everyone's slowing it down. So let's keep it moving. Next record, Working Remote with Slim Jimmy, one half of Ray Shremmerd. Alright, I ain't gonna lie to you, I was not expecting Working Remote to be a 80s techno house record. And I definitely didn't expect the record where Ray Shremmerd comes back together to be something like that. Not really my vibe. I think something like My Type, not that I want them to do exactly that, but I think that kind of record is the kind of thing where not just Swae can step off the Caribbean like smooth vibes, but also it gives the ability for Slim Jimmy to jump on a beat that is big and has a lot of potential commercially. I mean, this one could go, especially if DJs pick it up, but I don't think it lets them shine vocally. I think it becomes more about the instrumental than anything else. All right, last record on the project, Take My Heart, featuring Post Malone. Now, Swae said that he wanted to keep Post Malone and his features big, major records, major explosion, like super dynamic, like worldwide records. So let's see if this collaboration lives up to what they did with Sunflower. So personally, Take My Heart sounds big. It sounds major. Personally, I think it's way too late on the project. I don't think you end with Take My Heart by no means. I think for me, Take My Heart should have been way earlier in the project. It kind of opens you up. You could even really start with it because, as you guys know, if you guys are tuning into these album reviews that I've been doing, I'm very particular about the track listing of the album telling a specific story. But, again, I'm not the artist. I'm just subjectively, I'm just saying that if I had to order this in a different way, I would probably put this in a way where it kind of tells a story that's more particular. To me, Take My Heart is a great way to start the project because it's big. You got Post Malone on the first record. That means everyone's going to listen to this, where not a lot of people are going to make it all the way down to the bottom. If you guys have released music or just not aware, most usually people will listen to the first track of the album. Usually that's why the first track on any album has tons of plays in comparison to everything else on the project. Unless it's a major artist, then obviously their singles are going to be have a ton more views than anything else. But I do like the project. I think it matches what Swae Lee has done. I don't think this necessarily elevates him anywhere else where he's already standing. I thought the album cover was kind of random. I don't really understand it. It didn't really pop to me as far as like grabbing my attention. And for me, he seems to be trying to make more personal and emotionally like relatable music. But I don't know if the packaging or the presentation of the project as a whole really does that for me. Now, I think, the features are okay, but I still feel like Swae Lee carries most of the weight of this project, where, I don't think Slim Jimmy really brings in a whole bunch. French Montana with his 16 bars at the end of a record that, in theory, like he said, of Unforgettable, could have just been forgettable. Flammable is another record I liked. I know that was one of the early singles that he rolled out. I'm glad that still made the project. So as a whole, I think the project is good. I think it's a good listen. I think it has 2 or 3 records that has great potential for to be rolled out throughout the summer, and I think it's good. I don't think it's anything groundbreaking, but I can always appreciate Swae Lee because he stays in his lane, he does what he's good at, and he continues to push the line on the story he's telling with his music, and he doesn't stay. He experiments, but it's like the whole album isn't an experiment. He'll experiment on Violet or Raising or Working Remote or something like that, but generally a lot of these records are smooth, they're chill, like they got a great vibe. And so if you're looking for a vibe, the Swae Lee's new project, Same Difference, is a great place to start, especially if you like things that hit and are gonna hit your speakers and make you really lose your hearing. With that being said, Rambo Hustle with the Hip Hop Report. Lock in.
All hustle is all hustle.
All hustle is all hustle. Stop.
Machine